Let's call this meeting of the Older Adult Advisory Committee together. First thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you do the roll call, please?
Betty Bishop, Rochelle Fuquay. Did I say that right?
That's it.
Okay, Fuquay. Okay. Jennifer Hamill. Here. Nils Omholt.
Yeah.
Suzanne Astash. Vito Pianello. Phil Randazzo.
Here.
Marcia Relier.
Here.
Joe Silbernagle.
Here.
Moira Smith.
Here.
Carol Thompson. Barbara Van Sickle. Carol Leidenbach.
Here. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong Carol.
Kathy Westron. Roy Wilson. And Carol Weisman.
All right, thank you. You have a copy of the agenda in front of you. I would accept a... You have a copy of the agenda in front of you. I would accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Who did it? Moya and Marcia. Okay. Any comments about the agenda? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. You also have copies of the minutes dated April 26, 2022. I'd accept a motion to approve the minutes. Anybody?
So move. Second.
All right. You got that?
Yep, got it.
Okay. Any corrections or anything on the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. This is now the opportunity for public participation. The first opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak on any issue. Do I have anyone who wishes to speak for public participation? We have 2 people who are going to speak in a minute, but I don't think they want to talk now. Going once, going twice, closing public participation. All right, at the opening of our committee, now a few months ago, we sort of put together a list of people we would like to hear from, information to gather that we can take back to groups and hear from them. And so today, we are going to have an update from SMART, Robert Kramer, who's the Deputy General Manager. And he's going to talk about the services SMART offers and what's coming up in the future.
I think that's
Thank
my
you,
cue.
Robert.
But obviously, I'm here at your disposal, so you can ask any questions you would like, and certainly we can follow up with materials or whatever we can provide after that. So rather than be presumptuous and give you 30 or 40 slides worth, I'll try to keep this part brief, and then we can have a discussion, if that's okay with the chair, of course.
And you should all be able to see the slide presentation on your monitors. Okay, great.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Robert Kramer. I'm the Deputy General Manager at SMART. We have a relatively new General Manager who was here in front of the County Board of Commissioners not too long ago. His name's Dwight Farrell. He's got a lot of national experience, and he's bringing a lot of energy to SMART to kind of take us into the future, so we're very excited about that. So the SMART today, we're Macomb County's public transportation provider, and we do that with a lot of help from our friends and with a lot of support from people who use us and agencies who benefit from our services as well. We're funded by a mixture of federal, state, and local dollars. So the local dollars is, Macomb County is the county that has the whole county paying into the millage. And our local dollars are a little bit less than half of the total funding that it takes for us. So when we're able to, and that's for operating, and then we have capital expenses too. So for every dollar that we get from Macomb County, we're actually able to generate and leverage another $1.34 from federal and state sources. So it's actually a pretty good return on your investment right out of the gate. And we work really hard to make sure that we're giving the best services and support to everyone that's in Macomb County residents through agencies and groups and the like. We've got lots of different types of services, and that's the pictures up here kind of trying to represent that. So we've got fixed route buses. You can see them if you look out the window that way. You know, we've got a stop right outside of the headquarters here that has a fixed route stop. So that's a bus. It's the bigger buses. They run a set schedule, and they're along busy corridors. In Van Dyke and Gratiot and 9 Mile, those are our busiest corridors in Macomb County, and therefore you have a vehicle that has the most capacity, and they can take you longer distances around town. We've also got the Fast is a special type of fixed route service. It has fewer stops, and that makes it go quicker. So takes less time because you're stopping less often. And in Macomb County, our fast corridor is Gratiot. Then we've got our on-demand, or we're calling it microtransit, for people who have used the small bus services, whether it's through your community or through SMART. It's really same-day service. So right now, most of the service is available. You have to call at least a day in advance to set up a trip if you're going to use the senior and disabled transportation. This new type of service is the same day. So you could get up one day and say, okay, I've got a hair appointment, I've got to go to the doctor, or a friend just called up, wants to meet me for lunch. And that day, without having to plan the day before, you're able to use an app on your phone, or you can call a phone number and say, hey, this is where I'm going from and where I want to go to. And a vehicle will be able to come and pick you up, usually within 20 minutes within our zone, which I'll talk about a little bit more of where we're testing this service. But in the longer term, we're looking in the next couple of years, we want to make that kind of service available across the entire county. So that's a little teaser to the end of my short presentation. Our connector service is the small buses that we operate that you have to reserve a couple days in advance. And then the community partnership program I'll talk about a little bit later too is actually, when it started in the 90s, was a nationally award-winning program where we actually helped to foster and grow these community programs that probably many of you are very familiar with in your individual communities. Okay, so the idea of SMART is we want SMART to be part of you and your community, your agency, your county's ladders to success. And we do that through some pretty simple steps. The idea of having mobility, connecting you to places you need to go, creates an economic impact for your community. And it can be for people trying to get to work, but it also can be for things that are going on in your community. If you want to have more services, more opportunities that you can use in your area, more stores, more recreational activities as well, all of these things kind of build on one another. All of those things contribute to a quality of life, and the ultimate goal, which I think is appropriate for everybody, especially for older adults, is to have that level of independence whatever you need to be able to do. So that's kind of like the way that we think about our role in the bigger picture. So we're really committed to providing increased mobility and access. Access is the key, right? So you can have mobility, but if people don't know about it, if people can't get to it, if they can't understand how to use it, then it's really not helpful at all, actually. So the Community Partnership Program, again, this is something that I'm very proud of, even though I was not here when it started, but it's something that really is still very unique nationwide. It's a program we started in the 90s, around the same time that we started the local property tax millage, as a way to give back to the communities that are supporting the millage. It started with just a few vehicles and has grown to a fleet of over 70 vehicles in Macomb County, serving over 11 different agencies. And this map, if you can play along with me, the blue outlines are the areas covered by each one of your 11 transportation programs. So the upper right corner is Richmond Lennox EMS. That covers 11 communities, more than half the county, basically. And each one of those has a black number. That's how many vehicles they have that are provided by SMART that are operating in that program. So just to kind of give you a lay of the land of how that works in Macomb County. In Macomb County, compared to Oakland and Wayne, where only parts of the counties are in play, are much more efficient. You've got, like I said, Richmond Lennox covers 11 communities, which means that Jeff White and his team can do a great job for all of the people that live in those communities with our support. They actually have a really nice facility that we helped them build that's a joint facility with their EMS that's out on 32 Mile Road in Richmond. If you guys haven't been there, that's something that can be arranged to tour the facility. It's fantastic. The services that these provide focus on mobility and access, access and independence, especially for older adults. But in many cases, the communities can decide if they want to provide services to others, disabled adults, or really to the general public if they want to. But most of these, again, focus really on older adults. We've got brochures that we can provide to communities, to individuals that kind of describe for each community what services you have. And there's also on our website, if you type in what community you're in, it can tell you, hey, you got access to Richmond Lennox, you've got access to these routes, or whatever the case might be. So those are really good resources. We're working on technology that would allow us to have more of that same-day service using these partners to help us actually make that happen, right? So they've got vehicles and resources in place, and we would like to help use our technology in some of our vehicles to turn that into being really same-day service. You could call anytime you needed to, anywhere in the county, and between SMART and our partners, we can get you where you need to go. So the way we're testing that is a service called Smart Flex. So you may have seen these minivans around the area. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. If you can see that. So the shaded area here, this is our pilot zone in Macomb County. It's a pretty long or large area, right? So it's kind of over basically to the Mound Road corridors on the left-hand side of your screen, and it reaches all the way to County Line Road on the right-hand side of the map up in New Baltimore. And so basically anywhere within this shaded area between any 2 points, 7 days a week, you can use the app or call the phone number, and you can get one of those vans to come and pick you up and take you where you need to go. And for the full fare ride is $2. If you qualify for a reduced fare, which would be senior or disabled, it's only 50 cents, and that gets you about 5 miles. If you go farther than that, which in this zone it actually is possible to go farther than 5 miles, it can go up to a maximum of $8, but by and large, most trips are just that base fare. What's also great is I mentioned the services we have on Gratiot and Van Dyke that can get you farther afield. This zone was intentionally designed. You can see you got Van Dyke on the left and you've got Gratiot on the right. So if anywhere in this zone you needed to go downtown Detroit, for example, you could take this van to a stop at M59 in Gratiot, 21 Mile Road in Gratiot, and you could get on the fast, and that would take you downtown, and that's all part of that same fare. So this can really, again, we picked this area on purpose because we wanted to test the concept. This is something that's new, and we wanted to see how this kind of service would work, how people responded to it, who were the people that were using it. And so intentionally, it's a large zone. There's a ton of places you can go to and from that are in this zone for a ton of different uses. There's a lot of medical facilities, there's lots of malls, there's lots of retail, there's lots of homes and recreational opportunities. Macomb County Community College is right in the middle. So really this zone is our opportunity to test how this kind of service would work. And again, it's called the Smart Flex. I think I've gone through this part. These screenshots. And again, I'll talk about, or I'll say right now, we will come out and meet with any individual or any group to walk through how to use this and even ride the service with you, whether it's the flex service, the fixed route buses. We've done this quite a bit in Oakland County, where we'll actually go out to a seniors group and bring a bus with us, and people can get on. A lot of times that the barrier really is not even where the bus goes, but even just that, okay, if I get on here, am I going to know how to use it? And am I going to know how to get off the bus, right? Okay, so I get on there. How am I going to know when I need to get off? How am I going to let the driver know? So we will come out and meet with any groups, and actually it's called travel training. Sorry, it's called travel training. It's the idea that you're actually training people on how to use these resources. So we're willing to come out. this is the progression of kind of, it's really simple. If you want to book a trip, you basically open up the app, and once you get the app set up, you can just use the same one over and over again. The first 10 rides are free. You basically just either put where you are, or you can just slide around with your finger and drop the pin where you want to go, and then you ask it to look for a ride, and if it's able to find you one, you can see in this case I got one. I did this right before I got in the car to come here. I was able to get from Garfield over to maybe a fantasy house I would own in Chesterfield Township, and the vehicle was going to be able to come pick me up in 11 minutes. And so if you press book this ride, which this is not a touch screen, so it's not working, but if you press book this ride, of course, it then will tell you the license plate number of the vehicle, the driver's name, and all the vehicles have that wrap on it. So you can feel confident that you're getting not just someone who's pulling up in their vehicle that you're not sure of, but you'll know this is something that is, we've got the drug test, we've got the background checks, we've got drivers that are available to provide this service, so you can count on it being safe and reliable. So that's what we're really excited about, and that's kind of the direction we want to move, is taking what we've been able to test in this pilot zone and be able to make that kind of service available across the county. Kind of already talked about that stuff. Come out and let us train you, or a group. We have lots of marketing materials and brochures we can make you connect you with. Try out the Flex service. Again, when you set up your account, the first 10 rides are free. So you can use it to go around all you want to for 10 rides, and after that, for seniors and disabled, it's only 50 cents a ride, and even for full fare, it's still only $2 to get you each way. And then really let us know, as part of why I'm here today, and hopefully this will be part of an ongoing feedback loop, but let us know how we can serve you or your agency or your favorite place to go better. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions?
Where they have opted out, everybody is in Macomb?
Yeah, the simple way to think about it is, in Macomb County, your commissioners made the decision to make it a county tax. So the commissioners put it on the ballot, just like you could have a jail tax, a senior tax, whatever it might be, that's countywide. In Oakland and Wayne County, they decided not to do that. And so in that county, they set up a taxing authority that communities had to become members of. So they're not actually communicating with the county and saying we want to be en route. They're actually communicating with a taxing authority saying each community can say they want to be a member. And that's, if they're a member, then they would get the tax levied. It does really, there's lots of different ways to measure it. But in Macomb County, you guys have the most efficient community partnership program. You have the highest proportion of ridership compared to the amount of service. It really is truly the most efficient way to be able to provide this kind of service, is not have to worry about how do I notch out this community or that community and trying to get people around. Because unfortunately, people want to go where they want to go, not like, well, I want to go there, but I think I got to figure out someplace else to go.
In terms, one of the things you all talked about when you came in front of the commissioners was Macomb County as a whole, our taxpayers pay in a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. And can you explain that we get service proportional to the amount of money we get in?
Yeah, so we use a pretty simple calculation. So we've got the money from the three groups. You've got Macomb County, and then we've got a Wayne Taxing Authority and Oakland Taxing Authority, and those are proportional. So in Macomb County's case, you all contribute about 36% of all the tax dollars we collect are from Macomb. So when we're doing our annual budget and designing our service, we take a look at all of those things I just talked about, and we make sure that the proportion that's assignable to Macomb County is within 1%. So you're getting between 35 and 37% of all of the services, in Macomb County. And that's, again, partially because we have that weird, each county has chosen a different adventure. That's a way to make sure we can keep our services proportional and fair. Yeah.
Marcia?
Yeah, I'm going back to looking at the different areas that you have contracts with that provide local service. Do they talk to each other? Like if somebody lives in Romeo and wants to get down to Warren, on the system you have, does the transportation up in Romeo talk to the transportation I don't know if it comes down South of Hall Road or whatever. Can somebody coordinate going that far?
Yeah, so in addition to the community partners, we have our connector service, which is the same kind of vehicles that kind of lays over the top of everything. So if we have people that are in an area that, like in Romeo's case, that's covered by Star Transportation. So that's Washington and Romeo. And if they had somebody that needed to get farther afield, they would reach out to us.
Oh, they would
and see.
refer, so if I lived up there and I called Star
Yeah.
and said where I wanted to go, then they would refer me to, or they would contact.
If it was somewhere they wouldn't go, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they would just take me down to their border.
Yeah, I mean, we usually work something out.
Okay.
Or like if you were going into Shelby Township, they have their own program. So they might, they would then ask Shelby, hey, could we bring somebody down there? Maybe could you bring them back? Or, I mean, really, we try our best to make sure that we're not saying, well, here, we've got to stop here. And if it makes sense, we can just go a few more blocks, for example. So the partners operate their own services, but yeah, we do try to help coordinate as much as possible for people.
Okay,
who need
that
to
can
go
be very
to-
confusing to individuals who want to have public transportation, want to
Right.
call a ride, and then they may hear, well, we don't go there, and then it gets frustrating, so.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're trying to do much better at overseeing all of this. So the program that you showed us also that's all shaded, that's the Gratiot Corridor is that Flex? Is
Yeah.
that what?
Yep, Flex.
Are you going to be expanding that westward in the county or elsewhere?
Yeah, so the idea would be, and I got it up on the screen, but this was the zone we tested, we were going to pilot. The idea would be, and I had this was on some of the more slides we had in the other presentation, but the idea would be that kind of service would be available across the whole county. And part of it, you're hitting the nail right on the head. Part of the goal, and I think I maybe kind of skipped over that part, was we'd like to deploy a single app and or phone number that you could call that would help work all of what we just tried to talk about out. So you say, well, I live in Romeo and I want to be able to go to Warren. You say, well, yeah, I can tell you, we do try to do our best to make that happen. But the idea, what we want to push is having one piece of technology that could kind of help work through all that. So you could say, this is where I want to go, and it would be able to tell you, well, these are your options. And it would also be able to then communicate with the providers to say, hey, dispatch a vehicle to go pick this person up, take them where they want to go.
One additional question then that kind of follows this is many seniors who need public transportation may not have the phone or be able to use an app. So that's another layer of education, but it's also, it can be very frustrating with arthritic hands to work an app and everything. So
Yeah, so it's an app, and I added on here also an app, or you can call on a phone. You can call a phone number. Yeah, we really we have a service that we've been improving in Farmington Hills, which is in Oakland County, obviously. That was a dial-a-ride, an old-fashioned dial-a-ride, kind of like they have in Mount Clemens, but it had an app component. And so that's part of we want to make sure people are comfortable. We wouldn't want the technology to get in the way of the transportation. But if you can get people, whether it's through a training class or helping out with wherever they're getting their information from, there's a lot of benefits of using the app because it gives you the power of information, because you can see where it's coming from, you can see what the license plate number is, it'll tell you when it's going to be there, you can watch it kind of driving around on the screen. But we want to make sure that it is, that we have an option for people who, for whatever reason, either aren't comfortable or don't have the technology they need to use it. But it's a great point.
About how many rides do you give a day in one of these districts?
That's a good question, and somewhere in a different presentation, I think I have that up. I'm trying to think. So in the month of March, we provided 17,500 trips, but that was across 4 districts. So I want to say that the Hall Road district was probably in the 4,000 trips range, just in that mapped area that I show. We have that data. Like I said, I don't have that one memorized, but we've seen all the zones growing, and that's actually part of the challenge. Is it's a balance of supply and demand. It's a difference. Something. If I'm getting too technical, you can stop me. But when you schedule, when you call in advance, it means that the night before we can sit down and we can map out what every bus is going to do throughout the day. If you have that same day service, you're guessing basically how much demand there's going to be, and then you're trying to deploy the assets in the right pattern to support it. If something happens and you didn't realize it was Cinco de Mayo and everyone wants to go out and get tacos for lunch, all of a sudden you say, well, now it's saying now it's going to take an hour for someone to get a vehicle because we didn't anticipate those being out there. So that's part of the two biggest challenges with learning how to transition to this service are, one is getting people to understand how it works, because people are used to, well, I got to call ahead and I want to know, I want to have a piece of paper that says they will be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So getting people to have trust in and understand that they can get up that morning and reach out and ask for their trip. And the second one is being able to make sure that we've got the right number of vehicles out there to serve who's out there. So those are the two challenges that we are learning through this pilot process. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but.
How reliable is the timing? If people don't like their doctor's office, they need to be there at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would be nervous, are you going to be there on time?
Right, and that's exactly the trust factor, right? Is people would have to be comfortable that, well, it says it's going to be here in 20 minutes. When you're requesting the trip, it's very accurate because it's actually telling you it's got a vehicle and it knows how long it's going to get there. And that's something we're keeping a close eye on is we want the average to be 15 minutes. Right now it's closer to 20. So I would say we still would advise people to leave some buffer that's in there. And that service, our current service, you have to reserve it the day ahead of time. They actually make you have it way ahead of time. They give you a 30-minute window that has to be an hour before you need to get there because they don't want you to miss your appointment, especially for medical trips. So there is definitely some more learning that we and the riders will need to do as we go through that. But we're keeping that in mind too. People need to be able to count on it, otherwise it's not helpful.
How long have you been piloting the Flex program?
Yeah, we started it this is 2022, right? We started in March of 2021, so we're past our first year for the pilot service.
And what's the general reaction from people, Ben? Is it growing? Is it?
Yeah, it has been growing. The people who use it really like it. So the average rider takes something like 5 trips a week. So when someone uses it, now that ends up being a round trip, 2 or 3 days a week. But the people that are using it are actually seeing that it's very beneficial. I think our biggest challenge is communicating to people how it really works, because it's just different, right? It's kind of like Uber. I would say that it's better than Uber in some ways, again, because you can count on the vehicles are dedicated, the drivers are tested and part of our system. And the drivers don't get to choose whether or not they want to serve your trip, right? I mean, that's part of the challenge. But it's also about communicating and building that trust so that people see, okay, I hear you saying that this can take me where I need to go, but can I actually count on it? Is it safe? Is it going to work? And so once we can cross that barrier, which I say it's kind of like the old-fashioned elevator speech. Like if you could get in front of someone and talk for even 45 or 60 seconds of like, hey, this is really a great service, then they'll be willing to try it, and then they'll see that it's useful. But that is difficult. It's really difficult to explain all of that on a piece of paper or a website or a brochure. And that's been our biggest barrier, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic, to be able to go on demand for 50 cents is pretty amazing. Those of us who are a little bit younger and perhaps have more confidence in Uber and Lyft, sometimes you're looking for an Uber ride and there's just not
Right.
one, or it's so expensive that you can't,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. So I think it's a great direction for Smart to go, because we've all seen the big buses, and we always have some concerns about they don't look like they're full and how many people are really using them, and my tax dollars are going to that empty bus. The smaller connector buses, I think people have a lot more experience with them. And even some of our northern townships who make noise about wanting to get out of the Smart system, when you actually ask them, they in fact use all those little connector buses and do get benefit from the smart system, even though they talk about wanting to pull out of the system. So I think that that's really important. But I think the new direction is great and will provide a lot of mobility for a lot of seniors. Did you have a question, Carol?
Yeah, how are your vehicles powered?
Great question. For now, they're just gasoline vehicles. But that's something we've been talking. So the pilot we have is actually, it's a turnkey contractor we're using called VIA. And they're a company that's been around for a long time. Actually, they started their company. Some of the other similar services are software companies that are looking for something to use their software for. VIA started as a company providing this kind of service for a profit. And they've developed the technology and have been able to put it in place in a lot of different ways. In this case, we actually asked them to be our partner because they know a lot about providing this service and we didn't. When we moved to a countywide approach, we would kind of take over, we would go with more of a technology approach that we would be able to manage, and that would allow some of the partners to participate as well. So that's a long way of saying they're Pacificas and Caravans, which are just gasoline powered, but in the future there'd be a lot of opportunities to either use hybrid or electric vehicles as part of the fleet.
Rochelle?
What is the phone number for the Smart Flex?
I don't have it memorized. Sorry.
All right, well, you have to get that.
It's a Smart
first.
Flex app. Is if you get it in Android or Google, and I will find the phone number by the time we get to the end of this presentation.
All right, but that is a very important bit of
Yes.
information for us to have, especially if you're in the test corridor, to get more people starting to try it and use it. I noticed I'm in the test corridor. I think I'm going to test it and see if this works or not. Did somebody else? The other Carol.
So if we wanted to get the information that you provide, brochures, pamphlets, all that, how do we go about getting all that so we can go back to our communities and make sure all the seniors get it?
Yeah, so the phone number first is 734-212-8429. I'll actually send an email that has the website and the phone number and the link to all this information to all of you after this.
Great.
But that's the phone number, and then the app again is the app and the website have a lot of information. Okay, so back to your question. So Bonnie McInerney Slater, maybe some of you have known, she spent some time in Warren, in New Baltimore, and other communities, and she is now our Macomb County ombudsperson. So Fred Barbrett retired earlier this year after many great years of service, for those of you who knew Fred. And he's happily retired now, which is, I think, is part of the plan for everybody. So Bonnie is our new Macomb ombudsperson. And so she's the best point person, whether it's coming out to meetings, helping with travel training, or sending any information that you might have. So her email address is bmcinerney, that's MCINERNEY, at smartbus.org. So smartbus, all one word, SMARTBUS.org. I'll include her information in that.
Yeah, we'll send you
Follow.
everybody. We'll email everybody the
Yeah.
the contact information for both her and the phone number to try out the on-demand, which I think is very cool.
Yeah.
So the on-demand, is that like a 7-day-a-week program? And is there time constraints for that?
Excellent question. Yes, so the Macomb zone is 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week.
Nice.
Yeah, so part of and again, I could talk about this forever, but we're trying to make sure we can accommodate anyone who could benefit from this. So what we heard when we were launching that Gratiot Fast service is there's a lot of people who work at light industrial areas, especially along the Gratiot corridor, that have shift report times that are 6, 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. So this makes sure that if a bus gets up in that area, there's also a lot along the Mound Road corridor, which is why we stretched over to Mound on the west end. This allows somebody who has an early shift like that could use it to take the bus into the zone and then be able to get to their job quickly and easily. Yep.
Nice. Can you take a couple of minutes to mean, at this point, we've been focused on services, but can you take a couple of minutes and talk about the millage and what's up with that?
Sure. So what we're asking, or what we're hoping for, is for the county to continue the countywide millage as a renewal. So
The renewal, if it's approved by the county commission, will go on the ballot in November,
correct. Thank you. Yeah.
just so you know. That's
Yeah.
why I asked the question. It's relevant for this time of year.
Got it. Yeah. So the commission, it's really up to your county board of commissioners to decide to put it on the ballot. Like I said earlier, it's a countywide tax. SMART's not a taxing authority, so we don't have the ability to tax anyone for anything. But we are a transportation authority, and we've been good stewards, I would contend, of the county's dollars for a good 25 years now, and we would really think as you can see, there's a lot of important work that we'd like to continue advancing transportation in the county. So the county board of commissioners are the ones that would decide to put it on the ballot, and then obviously from there it would go in front of the voters. We're suggesting or recommending a renewal of the rolled back amount, which puts us in the 0.98 vicinity from the original one that has been rolled back 3 or 4 times over the last couple of years. That really helps us. We've had a lot of increasing costs. A real challenge for us has been finding employees. So we have over 80 fixed route driver positions that are open. Our fuel costs have gone up. We're not asking for an increase, but we do think it's important to be able to continue our current funding in order to continue the services we have. And the changes that we're planning on, our direction forward here, as far as expanding the flex service to be available countywide, working on this single app and phone number you'd be able to use to access all of our services and partner services. Those are things we are confident we'll be able to do, not in 4 years of renewal, but really in the first year or 2, you will see those things in place, and we're pretty excited about it.
Thank you. Any other questions? I would encourage you all to call your local county commissioner and encourage them in any way that you see fit. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kramer.
I really appreciate it, and like I said, we'll send that all the details for you guys. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me or Bonnie anytime.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Can I have a motion to receive and file the report? Marcia?
Second.
Rochelle? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. And now, we have a twofer today because you all had a long list at that beginning meeting. So now we have Stacy Conte, who is here from the Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers. And she also brought you some paper, which is at your desk. So Stacy, tell us what you do and how you do it.
Good afternoon. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you to Mr. Randazzo for kind of bringing me in and connecting with us here. We were at the Shelby Township hearing for CDBG funds back in February, and I met Mr. Randazzo and really excited to connect and share about our program. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but as you mentioned, I do have some handouts that we'll be talking about today. But we are a charity called Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers. We help seniors and disabled adults all throughout Macomb, Oakland, and St. Clair counties. And what we do is we provide free volunteer services to them to help them stay in their own homes longer. And that's a wide variety of things. The main things we do are transportation to doctor's appointments and other urgent appointments. We also do grocery shopping, whether that be taking someone's grocery list to the store and getting the items for that person, or bringing them with you to the store and helping them around. We also have a food pantry at our office, which is located in Roseville. And we have volunteers who deliver bags of food pantry items to clients' homes who can't get out and get to our food pantry. We do light housekeeping, such as dusting, vacuuming, things of that nature. Outdoor chores, so a lot of, in the spring and the fall, weeding, raking leaves. Unfortunately, we don't do any snow removal or grass cutting just because we don't have enough resources to fill all the needs for that. But we also do indoor chores, whether that be organizing closets or maybe helping to put new paper on shelves. We do minor home repairs, like fixing leaky faucets. And then besides like the physical services, we also provide companionship services, so weekly friendly visits or friendly phone calls, or respite breaks for those who have full-time family caregivers who might need to get out of the home and do some shopping or what have you, but normally can't leave their house. Like I mentioned, we are 100% free to the people we serve. We are 100% volunteer-based. Our motto is neighbors helping neighbors, and that's truly what we're doing here. We've been around for 29 years. And we started off only serving Macomb, but like I mentioned, we expanded to Oakland and St. Clair County. And we are really a big gap filler for people's needs in the community as well. We try our best to fill any needs that come to us, even if they might be challenging. For example, we've driven people to Canada who've needed to go to Canada, out of state even. We've a lot of trips to Ann Arbor, things that may be farther. We've helped rebuild someone's wall in their home because it was so deteriorated that rats were getting in the house. Just things that really you don't think about that are huge problems for people in the community. But again, we try our best to fill those needs. We do prioritize those who are low income and don't have any other resources to help them. So if they do have other family members that can drive them to the doctor, that's something we would talk about with them and find out during intake, and we might suggest something like the SMART program to help for the days that the family can't take. But if it's consistent need, we can definitely try and find somebody to help them in our program. And we also, like I mentioned, we try and fill the gaps and help those who might be on the low income side, but it doesn't mean that we won't help somebody moderate income if they don't have any other resources that can help them as well. The intake process is very easy. As you all have in your packet, it's our brochure on the very top, which is that green brochure. It has our main office phone number. So if you know anybody who needs this type of help, feel free to have them give us a call, refer this number to them, and we'll have Julie talk to them, who is our client intake coordinator. She goes about 15 to 20 minutes of phone questions to do an intake assessment and just see what their needs are, if they're able to get in and out of vehicles by themselves, things of that nature, because we don't do any hands-on care. We don't, as volunteers with our program, we don't train anybody to help with showering or changing clothes or toileting or anything of that, as well as lifting wheelchairs or lifting people into cars. So they have to be able to get into the car on their own, even if that means the volunteer just needs to hold out an arm to help them. But if they can get in the vehicle by themselves, then they could qualify for our program. And like I said, you go through the intake process, and then we see if we have a volunteer in your area that can help you with that request based on our database of volunteers. And if we don't have somebody who can immediately help, you go on our wait list, and we're always getting new volunteers in, and we'll let you know if somebody is able to help that maybe comes in new and can service you near your area. We do ask for at least a week for a request to try, especially for transportation, to try and see if we have enough time and to get the volunteer in place. And we always let you know 24 to 48 hours in advance if we can't find somebody, just so you can cancel your appointment and reschedule or what have you. As far as volunteering, we do background check all of our volunteers. I'm also the volunteer coordinator at Interfaith. So what I do is I recruit new volunteers, I interview them, we talk about what they're interested in, very flexible volunteer opportunities. We have volunteers that help out twice a year, and we have volunteers that help out every week. It really is what your schedule allows you to do and what you want to do to give back in the community. But we do an interview process with myself, and then we go through orientation that I take new volunteers through so they learn about emergency procedures and how to respect and communicate with our seniors and disabled adults in the community. We also do group projects too, if you know of anybody who's looking for service hours. We do a lot of yard work cleanups through that, and we work with a lot of local churches who have their own IVC programs in their church, so they help congregation members with their own members of the congregation as the volunteers. So lots of different ways that we reach out into the community. And again, really, we are here to help those in need, and we refer people to other agencies if there's something we can't potentially help with. So we always have that database of resources as well to help. But with that, again, I appreciate you having me here today, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Kathy?
Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
What geographic areas do you serve again?
All of Macomb, Oakland, and St. Clair counties.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yes.
And could you talk a little bit more about the background checks you do on the volunteers in terms of legal issues and health status?
So we just run a basic criminal background check through the state of Michigan on our volunteers. We also check for sexual offender offenses for Michigan and nationally. And then we also check for child abuse or neglect in Macomb County, or I'm sorry, Michigan as well. So those are the ones we run, and we also do reference checks. So we have them bring the names and phone numbers of somebody they worked with or know, and we check with them to make sure they'd be safe and appropriate to work with our clients. Yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
How do you find your volunteers, and do you find volunteers that are licensed, like plumbers and electricians?
Sometimes we do. I would say the vast majority of the volunteers we have are retired themselves, so some of them may have been doing a plumbing job or been licensed like that in their careers, but no longer are working full-time like that. I think we have about 4 or 5 licensed plumbers or electricians that help out. But more often than not, it's people who know basic things regarding plumbing and electricity, I guess is what I want to say. And they know enough that they can help out. But we do have those people who are licensed as well. Yeah, and we find our volunteers through a variety of ways. We talk at senior centers, churches, student council meetings, high schools, colleges. That's my job, to go out and kind of recruit more interest in that. And we do get a lot of interest in group projects. I also have been recently at the YMCA over here and had a booth a couple of times, and that was really helpful to, as there's a lot of senior classes, people who were coming in were very interested in volunteering with us. So just really trying to be out in the community and spread the word about our program, and people mostly who are retired, or even people who aren't retired and just want to give back even once a week or once a month, they are really interested in helping out. Yeah.
Marsha?
Do you ever, you talk about background checks for all the volunteers, but how about the individuals who need the help? Do you ever run into those that have a criminal background or some, I'm thinking as a volunteer going into someone's home, it's wonderful to trust everybody, but sometimes going into that home can be rather iffy too. So do you check the individuals who need the help?
So we don't do an official background check on the folks who need the help. We do go through a pretty extensive questionnaire for the intake. So if something raises a red flag during those questions, we'll look into it, or we'll call the family member, because we do get family member contacts as well for that person, and we'll talk about it with them. We've never had any real legal issues because people are genuinely happy to have help. They're not, scamming anybody or anything like that. If there is an issue, it might be a situation where somebody might be rude to the volunteer or something like that. That happens once in a while. And if that's the case, we talk to the client, and if it doesn't change, then we unfortunately won't serve them anymore, because we don't want to have our volunteers exposed to that or take that kind of verbal abuse or anything like that. So, and that rarely happens anyway, but we to answer your question, we don't run anything official. It's something we kind of find out through the intake process, and then volunteers visiting if there is some sort of issue, and we nip it right in the bud, and we try and fix it right away. So, yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
How do you promote your services?
So,
Do you-
go ahead.
Do you pass out pamphlets like at the doctor's office, or are they at the community centers for seniors?
So that's similar to what I was saying about recruiting volunteers. So likewise, not only am I recruiting volunteers, I'm also just sharing about the program for those who need the help when I go out to senior centers and community centers. So again, that's my full-time job. So I go out into the community. I talk to people at the senior centers and community centers, ask us if we've been speaking to small groups of seniors at senior centers recently. I've also just been, if they have some sort of communication board there, I've been putting up our flyers with permission. I've been going out to a lot of churches because they often have older people in their congregations that need the help. So I've been dropping in, talking, and sharing about our program. We also have a mailing list, so anybody who's ever donated to us, they're on our mailing list, so they get frequent brochures and flyers, and they can spread the word, whether that's a business or a church or an individual. Yeah. Any other questions? I did want to kind of go through really quickly what is in your packets. So, like I mentioned, this is our general green brochure, and I have a big stack of them if you want me to leave some, if you know of anybody
If people would
that
like to take them, you should grab them from her.
Yeah, I'll leave
on
them.
your way
I'll
out.
leave them here. I have a big stack of them, and again, this is just to pass out. It has our main phone number on the front, and all of our general services are on the inside. People we've partnered with in the past, as far as like groups, our sponsors. The second page is all of our volunteer opportunities. Again, they range from being a volunteer driver to visiting somebody once a week to keep them company. Very, very flexible volunteer opportunities that fits anyone's schedule. And then the backside, it's benefits of volunteering. And really, we aren't set in stone to just these opportunities. If you think of something that would help a senior in need and you come to us and say, I'd like to volunteer by doing this, then we would definitely look into it if it's appropriate for our clients and makes sense. For example, we have some homebound seniors that wanted to volunteer, but they can't get out of their house, so they're knitting some hats and gloves for our seniors to give out, for us to give out to them during the winter season. So again, not bound to these types of volunteering opportunities, but these are just the main ones that we have as services. This community information sheet is this yellow sheet, which is next. It talks about our impact in the community, how we've recently outreached, and kind of quick facts and statistics about our program. This beige sheet is our general service information. Again, it talks more about our office, which is on Kelly Road in Roseville, and it talks about our hours of operation. Again, more specifics about the services we provide people. And then last but not least, because it's the spring, we do like to make a separate Safe at Home flyer, which highlights our Safe at Home services, which would be like the housekeeping, the home repairs, the outdoor and indoor chores, because we get a lot more requests for those in the spring. So this is kind of a twofold flyer that's easy to hand out to somebody. It's asking if anybody needs assistance with these types of services, or are you interested in volunteering for these types of services? Because again, we do get quite an influx in this time of year for these needs. So, but yeah, I appreciate again all the time you gave me today, and I will leave some brochures for you to take. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Our number is plastered on every one of these sheets, so it's all the same number. And we look forward to speaking with you in the future. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kramer, I have a question that came up as Ms. Conte was talking. The mini buses have wheelchair accessible, as do the bigger buses. What about these smaller vans for the on-demand service? Are any of those wheelchair accessible?
Right. So the big buses, connector buses, the community buses all have a lift or a ramp. The flex service is wheelchair accessible. So out of the fleet of vehicles that's out there, a portion of them, that's, I said, Pacificas and Caravans. So the Caravans are wheelchair conversions that have the rear ramp that goes up, and the Pacificas are just Pacificas. So when you're using the phone number or the app to reserve your trip, and actually when you set up your account, if you're always using a wheelchair or a mobility assistance device, you can put that right into your account. So whenever you ask for it, if it knows you have that, it'll make sure that kind of vehicle is deployed for you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I do want to add that Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers is a partner for us. We help support them with specialized services funds, and it's a fantastic program, at least from our perspective. Helps the funds they get from us actually helps them to reimburse the costs of the volunteer drivers that will get people wherever they need to go across that huge service area. So it's a fantastic program.
Thank you. May I have a motion to receive and file the Interfaith Caregiver report?
So move.
Second.
Kathy, over there. Okay. Who supported? Bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you so much, both of you, for this presentation. It was very helpful, and it's nice to see how the two organizations coordinate. That's really helpful. Next, we move on to agenda item number 8, which is correspondence. We had, some of us came to the Older Michiganians Day event. We actually watched the happenings in Lansing in the conference room next door. It was kind of fun to watch it together. And we got to see the speakers and what people were talking about, and it was sort of a nice way to do that as opposed to driving to Lansing. But one of the things that was discussed during that meeting was, it's in your packet, the platform for legislative action that they have set up, this coalition of older Michiganian groups is working on this year. And they are directing their activity towards support and strengthening the direct care workforce, rebalancing community-based long-term services and supports, expanding access to My Choice, increasing access to home and community-based services, and bridging the digital divide for older adults. And there's information about that. One of the things that came up when we were in the room was a suggestion that our committee here send a letter of support of those areas to our legislative delegation here in Macomb, sort of from us to them. And so there's a proposed letter in your packet. If people are so inclined, I would need a motion to do that. Or you can take a minute to read it, or if people have questions about it, it's in your packet.
I think this is very well written, and thank you for doing that. It's an important piece, and I'm glad that you've done it. We'll send it out.
Well, if the committee wants to send it, I need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Support.
And Kathy supported. Any further discussion of it? What shocked me was actually the number 2 point, rebalancing the community-based long-term services and supports. Michigan really ranks poorly among the states in terms of money spent to keep people in their homes.
Well, they said that we were forced from the bottom.
Yeah. What they told us in the process is that we were actually 4th from the bottom in the United States in terms of the amount of what we spend to keep people in homes, which is a far better place for people that wish to age in place. It's also more efficient for taxpayers to spend more money to keep people in homes. So that, to me, was the most startling thing I took out of that whole meeting. It's like, whoa, we really need to do better on that. Any further discussion on the idea of sending the letter? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you so much. And the last item on our agenda is an invitation to the zoo, which is in your packet as well. The Tri-County Senior Day at the Detroit Zoo is June 1st, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., free admission for seniors and a guest. No reservations required. If it's a nice day, go to the zoo. It's great fun at the zoo. They just had a baby turtle yesterday. It was quite exciting. On Turtle Day, they found an egg for one of the endangered turtles had hatched. They didn't even know they had an egg. She had hid her egg somewhere, and it hatched. So there's this cute little turtle at the zoo now. So that's just an invitation. I would take a motion to receive and file the invitation.
So moved.
Support.
And support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and number 9 on our agenda is, again, public participation. An opportunity for public participation for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any issues. I see no public. Closing public participation. Next up, comments from members. Ideas, thoughts, things you've discovered, problems, opportunities, thoughts that have crossed your mind.
Okay.
Marcia,
I
you
feel
always
like
have
I'm
lots of thoughts.
monopolizing. There had been some talk about perhaps arranging a field trip for us to do the DIA trip, and so this seemed to be an appropriate time to bring that up. Is there any progress, or what are we thinking about in that regard?
We have been working on it.
Yeah, we're looking at August because we don't have a meeting.
Yeah, we don't have a meeting in August, so we're thinking that that may be a substitute for the meeting. We're trying to figure out if we can make all that work. And part of it, I got to tell you at this moment, is Macomb County's COVID infection numbers are going up. And so we're sort of in a little bit of a wait and see. I'm hoping everyone is shot and boosted again and maybe boosted a third time. But we are trying to arrange, but we're thinking August, both because we don't have a meeting and because hopefully our numbers will go back down. Everything these days is dependent on that number that I see every Wednesday.
Masks are mandatory at the DIA. I was down there just past week a couple times, so.
Good. I like that. So anyway, we are thinking about it. We're trying to proceed with it, and we're hopeful that we will do it in August. Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Kathy finally comes up with
Second.
something. Does anyone want to support this, or we can stay
Support.
longer? I'm happy to stay longer. Phil? Support. All right. All those in favor of adjourning, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you all. We'll see you next month.